Yo, is real quick before we start the video, I just wanted to say that this will be a new series that I do where we kind of talk about storm related topics. This one is a bit more podcasty, so you don't even have to watch this one. I will put some gameplay behind the audio, but it's basically just me and E talking for the most part. So you don't have to listen to watch this video. You can just put it on while you do something else as well. But just to, let me know who you want to see in these videos. If there's a player in mind that you want to be a part of this series, or if there's a topic that you want me to cover, you want someone else to cover, then let me know in the comment section down below. So without further ado, I'm just gonna get straight into the video. Yo, what is up? It's your boy RJ in the building, and today we are doing a new series which is going to be a discussion style series. I'm gonna do a video about, different topics, and I want you lot to get talking in the comment section because I want to hear your lot's opinion because we all know how opinionated the Storm community is. I've got a guest with me. You'll see it in the title. You might see it in the thumbnail, depending. Who knows? But a man like E underscore B, Mr. E, Mr. 8K, Mr. Grabmaster, Mr. used to mean Buffoon, but dropped it and I became a ninja instead of a samurai. You know what I'm saying? Right? Do you know what I mean? The hub for competitive play, whether it's NA or EU, Asian, you know what I'm saying? I've introduced you for you, but
Wagwan,
say some words.
Wagwan chat, what's good? What's good? What's poppin', everyone? Appreciate you, RJ, for the beautiful intro, man. Man gave all the accolades, man. We love to see it, man. We love to see it.
For real. So it is currently almost 2 a.m. So man can't be as hype as man would normally be. Get so
Well,
our topic today, right, is what game is more competitive, Storm 4 or Connections? Now, this is a controversial topic. Do you know what I mean? No, we're not saying that what I say is right or what you say is right. It's literally just a topic for us to talk on. So, first, we're going to define what we mean by competitive because that's a very vague kind of question.
it's how much the game, basically, how much the game sort of supports a competitive play. So being
That's it.
able to
Yes.
compete, win prizes, all of that good stuff, that competitive atmosphere.
Yeah. So, in terms of the game itself, right, we're going to focus probably a bit more on the gameplay specifically, but how much the game kind of supports that competitiveness that we like. Well, that a lot of us like.
Mm.
There are some people that don't. But you know what I mean? Whether you're a watcher, whether you're a player, what game is more appealing to competitiveness? I'm gonna let the guest take the floor. Obviously, I have my opinion, but I'm gonna let E start us off on what game he thinks is more competitive and why.
I think a lot of you already know my answer already, but naturally Storm 4, simply because of the amount of playstyles that you can get out of it. If you've watched my videos or RJ's videos or Poison's videos, like there's a lot of different levels in the game. Like a lot of my community has mentioned it, like getting, tuning, joning. Like there's a lot of ways to express your individual skills through playstyles, and there's just a lot of different tiers when it comes to player skill as well, and that's because the game has so much skill depth slash player expression. Kunai ninja move, instant guard breaks, dash cancel mastery. Like there's so many mechanics and there's so many levels of the different mastery that you can get out of the mechanics that just allows you to express your skill as an individual player. Like you'll see it in playstyles between the different regions. Asia doesn't play like EU doesn't play like NA. EU is known for their stylers and baiting play. Then NA is known for their aggression, and then Asia is known for their mostly their buffering and then awakening neutralization. But then some of the French have got that as well. So like, yeah, it just expresses them. I don't really see that on connections as much.
I'll say my point, and then we'll go into the back and forth, discussion thing. So again, it's not really a debate. Me and E are gonna share different opinions. I'll let you know from now. He's gonna say his piece. I'm gonna say my piece, and we can just talk on each other's piece, kind of thing. So, in my
Pause.
opinion, well, why are you trying to listen? Why are you trying to make it
I'm
gay?
just covering my back. I'm just covering my back, bro.
Astaghfirullah.
That sounded suspect. I can't lie.
Oh my
I'm covering my
gosh.
back, man. I don't subscribe to them kind of things there. You know what I'm
Says the
saying?
person that says bum
Uh,
rush him.
Yeah,
You
nah,
go.
get your mind out the gutter. Get your
That's
mind
what
out the
you
gutter.
say. You go
That's
bum
a
rush him, bum rush him.
that's a
That's what you
that's a
told me.
competitive term. That's a competitive term.
I haven't heard no one else say that term, bro. For me, I think that connections is more competitive for me. The reason why is, and the thing is, I think that what everything that he said is true about Stormfall. Each region kind of has their own identity, way of playing. I think it's kind of hard to tell for the UK because the UK the UK playstyle literally consists of like 10 players, if that. Right? Not saying there is only 10 players, but there's only like 10 known players, maybe less. Do you know what I'm saying? So there's not really much to go off of, and most of us don't compete.
Who are the
Um,
10 known players?
Me,
Obviously, me,
you, Poison,
you, yeah,
Reach,
yeah.
Harlem,
Reach, that's four. Oh, five, okay.
Spades,
Ooh, Sheck,
Sheck is another one.
Sonic.
Do people know Sonic like that? I'm talking about we know UK players,
Low
but I'm talking
key.
about like known UK players. You know what I'm saying? Like
Okay,
if someone
fair.
says to you, "Oh,
Mm.
list of UK players," they're telling you RJ, Poison, Sheck, Reach, and Spades.
Yeah, that's kind of it,
They're
to
not
be fair.
really saying anyone else. We have others,
Mm,
Zeph Logic, Agent, Sonic. You know what I mean? We have
mm,
others, but I feel like that's all people are gonna say. No one's gonna really say anyone
mm,
else.
mm. Yeah, fairs.
You see
I
what
get
I
that.
mean?
Mm,
And if you look at that collective, we're all different. Reed is a
mm.
buffer. Reed buffers all the time. Spades plays like a styler. Poison has his own unique style. You have your own
Good
unique
night.
style. I have my own unique
Mm,
style. Like, do you know what I mean? Like,
nice.
it's very kind of scattered almost. We don't really have like a niche.
Fair.
I guess it's yeah. We don't really have a niche. 'Cause I was gonna say maybe it's fundamental play, but then Reed isn't really fundamental like based. Is the reason why I think that connections is more competitive is because I feel like as a player, connections connections way of playing is better for competitively despite the balancing. Now we all know that connections is
Well,
just
sorry, say
above
that
more.
again.
I said as a player, like as a player,
Mm,
regarding like the mechanics of the game, I feel like connections is better. One,
mm,
glitches, or sub banking, all the rest of it. I get rules are in place, but there are some times where it's just kind of helpless, if that makes sense. There's not really much you can do
mm,
about certain things. Now, if we take away the glitches,
mm.
awakening, cover fire, those are actual game mechanics that are in the game, right? But weren't balanced. In this game, you can see they've
Yep.
took some balancing in there as well. You know, they've
Mm,
shortened the time that your support storm gauge is up. They've shortened the
mm,
time that you're in awakening. Do you see what I'm saying?
mm,
So because they've shortened the time, it's kind of like a way to balance it because you don't have as long to abuse these things. Do you see what I'm
mm,
saying? To the point where nobody really cares if you pick a dash cut or a cover fire and hit in here too much. Do you know what I mean?
mm.
I'm not saying the game's perfect at all, but I think that this game rewards like smarter players. I feel like I feel like in Stormfall you can kind of get away with buffering and mastering that alone rather than actual fundamental skill and knowledge, like actual intelligence stuff, if that makes sense, regarding managing your subs, managing your chakra, even managing your supports, especially because supports are on a higher cooldown now. So having to choose, do I use my support or do I use a switch? Like I feel like also countering the fact that you can't switch from a countering. So now there's some risk into certain things. Storm 4, everything is safe. Counter switch, grab switch, jutsu switch. You know, you get stuff for free. You know, like so free jutsu, free dash. You know, that kind of thing. I feel like in this game nothing is free. Like it feels like if you use a support, there's still a gauge. If you if you use a sub, that's a sub. If you use a jutsu, that's chakra. Like, do you know what I mean? Everything costs. So I feel like having to manage that and also knowing when someone, recognizing when someone is being wasteful, and then kind of picking and choosing when to use your resources. I feel like it rewards that kind of mentality. To why even myself, I'm not the best player, nor would I even say I'm top tier, but I've beaten a lot of players that I would say are more mechanically gifted than I am because they're very wasteful and they can't keep that up. And then
Mm.
once they've kind of wasted everything, you just go in. So it's like it kind of rewards like smart players or players that can kind of think outside the box. Whereas I think
Mm.
Storm 4, there's too much option select. Like, oh, I do a jutsu buffer and it covers every option. Sub trap, pressure, guard break. Like, you can't do anything. Like it literally just covers everything. So you could just be lazy with it. You can just do it, and it does
Mm.
everything. It does the work for you. I'm not saying that's all Storm 4 is, but on a competitive level, let's be honest. Watch any competitive set. That's what they're doing.
Mm.
Do you see
I
what I'm
hear you.
saying? So for me, that's like obviously I have more reasons, but I don't want to make it long. But that's like why for me connections is as a player more competitive. But on the flip side, as a watcher, as a viewer, I think Storm 4 is more appealing because there's a
Really?
lot more going on the screen. It's like, oh, this
Mm.
man's out swinging bangs, and then boom, fire's coming from this side. Now this man's getting comboed here. What like there's bare stuff going on. Do you see what I'm saying? So because there's
Mm.
bare stuff going on the screen, it's more engaging. Whereas in connections, there's still a lot going on the screen, but in terms of a Storm game, not as much as Storm 4 because you're not buffering as much in connections. So
Mm.
there's not constant stuff on the screen. You're still moving quick. There's still jutsus flying, but it's just not as hectic as Stormfall. So as a
Mm.
viewer, Stormfall might be more appealing to watch, but as a player, I think that Stormfall is more competitive.
Mm. I hear what you're
Mm,
saying. I'm
mm.
surprised that you agree, because I agree with you in terms of being Stormfall being a better viewer experience, but I'm surprised you agree with me on that. In terms of yeah, because I feel like it's better, 100%. Whether okay, no, I'm more strictly talking about competitive, so I'm gonna keep it to that. But I
Yeah,
feel like
yeah,
it's more alienating for the casuals because there's more active characters on the screen, like you said. So if you don't understand the game, at least on a basic level, it's gonna be harder to understand what's going on. But at the same time, it's funny because there's people that play connections casually, and then when I start streaming Stormfall tournaments, they're like, "Oh my days, bro! I didn't know Stormfall was this." Are like, "Oh my days, this is so much more entertaining to watch than
yeah,
connections." So I feel
yeah.
like
But I believe that.
in a vacuum, it alienates casuals if like you've never seen a Storm game before and you're like, whoa, what's going on?
Mm,
A bit like 2K, 2XKO right now. Like if you see the
mm.
Switch tech in that game, it's crazy,
I
absolutely
played, I
disgusting.
played, I played the game.
I feel like it's worse than Storm 4. Yeah, I feel like it's worse than Storm 4. I can't
You-
lie, but like if
no,
you are complaining about that, fair enough, innit? I hear it, but I feel like in a vacuum, it's more alienating. But if you're doing a direct comparison, then I feel like it's like, wow, Stormfall's actually lit. Like, I get why people are
yeah,
still playing this. It makes sense. I think
yeah. Like Storm,
the only thing that people complain about is 60 frames per second or it being 30 frames.
well, in terms of like that, in terms of if you're looking at it from a competitive viewpoint, there, for me, there are so much game breaking things, i.e., Infinite Awakening,
Mm,
sub banking, sub switching,
mm,
cover fire Tamari,
mm,
dash cut, and in general, Madara Awakening,
mm,
Kaguya. Like, there's a lot of stuff in that game which makes it very difficult to kind of be pure with it because there's so much rules you have to set in place for it to
mm.
even be competitive in the first place. Because if you take away all the rules, it's a party game. Like there,
Yeah,
in my opinion, it's not even close. Like it is not competitive. Do you know what I'm saying?
100%.
So whereas in
100% agree.
connections, in my opinion, let's say you put on not a single rule, it's still competitive. I'm
Mm.
not saying it's perfect, but it is still competitive.
Facts.
Do you see what I'm saying? So it's like that alone just tells me that as a player, yeah, it's more competitive. The fact that I cannot put down a single rule in connections and it
I
still
hear
be
you.
competitive.
I hear what you're saying, and it makes sense, yeah, but I'm gonna disagree with you. I'm gonna say Connections is definitely more balanced, and if you just want to play it purely competitive without, putting any rule sets in place, then that's gonna be the better game for you.
Yeah.
But the only reason why I would say Stormfall is still more competitive is that each sport, each game, there's always rule sets involved. So I wouldn't even say the rule set necessarily takes away from the competitive because in all sports, there's a rule book, there's rules that you have to follow.
I mean,
If
in
I need to
in
implement
Tekken there isn't. In the other fighting games, there's not. There's no rules in
Nah, sorry, I
Tekken.
wasn't talking about sporting. I wasn't talking about games. Sorry, I wasn't talking about what's it called. Um, I mean, I can still talk about games, but I was talking about sports. There's always a rule
Oh, I mean,
book
yeah,
that you have
that's
to follow.
sports, but in the gaming world where it's like everything's
Smash,
on something.
Smash, Smash has a rule
Hmm.
set. Items are banned to make it competitive. There's stages that are banned. There's like competitive stages,
Yeah,
and
but there's not
Smash is the
like
most.
you can't ultimate. You can't pick this character.
No,
You can't do
in
this
Stormfall,
glitch.
there's
You
no
know what I mean?
Stormfall. In Stormfall, there's no character where you're like you can't ultimate.
No, no, no. I'm saying like in terms of Smash, I'm saying that yes, there's no items and no certain stages, but I'm saying, for example, if there is no like character bans in Smash, or you can't do a certain mechanic in Smash, the gameplay
Mm.
itself and the characters itself is pure. There isn't any rules in that sense. Even in, do you know what I mean? That's just how it goes.
There used to
Whereas
be though.
in
I
Melee, yeah,
swear
but that's
like
why I said that. No,
Meta
that's
Knight
in
may have
Melee. So
Venator.
in Melee is like Storm. So
Mm.
how Smash started out is exactly how Storm was. It was a party game. It wasn't intended to be competitive at all. Even the developers said it was a party game. The
Mm.
community made it competitive, and that's what, because it was a party game. Balancing wasn't a thing. People were
Mm.
broken, characters were broken. The community that would put on tournaments would put rules in place. Do you know what I mean? And then over time, it got to where it's got to. What's like the last thing you want to say, like to kind of finalize, underline, the question?
I do see your points, and I remember we had a conversation before. Like we don't even think like people are playing the true meta of the game because people haven't really incorporated. They haven't maximized what you can get out of switching.
Yeah.
Um, in terms of being it competitive, like if we're talking about you valuing the competitive scene from a balancing aspect, then I agree. Connections is definitely the more competitive game. But if we're talking about skill depth, then 100% I'm staying Stormfall all day, bro. Like the skill expression, the different levels, obviously within the rule set. Within that
Yeah.
rule set, it's just so many tiers above connections. I'm sorry.
I mean, for me, my underline, obviously, I believe that connections rewards more smarter players. I feel like the game mechanics, allows for that. And in terms of the skill expression thing, I just think that Stormfall's an older game, so there's more discovery. In
Mm,
connections, there's still a lot, like we've not even scratched the surface on what can be and what can happen in this game. Considering in Stormfall, 8 years down the line, we were still
mm,
discovering new stuff.
mm. It
There's
was the
this,
game that kept on
this,
giving.
there's in connections. I believe that there's still so much for people to discover, and it starts off with the blue dash. I think once people realize how strong blue dashing is, that's gonna creep it. That's gonna change up the whole meta.
Yeah, definitely
Hmm.
kind of the priority on it
And then
is
yeah, and then that's when
crazy.
we'll get our skill depth and skill expression that we speak of through time. But I think now, as the game is still new, the game's not even been out for a year yet. I think that I feel like it's a bit unfair on the game.
I hear what you're saying, but it's like when I'm looking at it, obviously the game can change over time, but when I'm looking at it now,
Just
there's
think
just
for
a
your
lack of
viewpoint based off
mechanics.
of now. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, based off now, yeah, just the lack of mechanics that you get to play with limits the amount of, skill expression that you can do.
Obviously, put in the video there. Let me know what you lot think about, you know, what what do you lot rate connections more as a competitive game, or is Stormfall you would say is more of a competitive game? My guess is that a lot of you are gonna side with E in a sense that Stormfall is more competitive. That is my guess. So I'll be interested to see you lot's opinions down below. Let's not let's keep it civil and not toxic. Right. Well, without further ado, I bid you guys farewell, and we'll be doing another discussion next, with another guest as well. So without further ado, Peace, sayonara, and adios.
Peace out.